in 5th grade, and I was riding on a school bus on the way home, and all of a sudden this guy just plopped in the seat next to me, and he goes, "Hi, my name's Andy. What's your name?" And I was like, "Well, my name's Jeremy." And that started a friendship. We were best of friends from 5th grade to 9th grade. We did everything together. One of my best memories that I have of me and my friend Andy was we would make these videos. So his family was one of the first families to get a camcorder. We had a video camcorder, and we would set that thing up, and we would dress up as rock stars, and we would put on Bon Jovi, and we would lip sync and make videos. And it was a lot of fun. And recently I asked my friend Andy, I contacted him, I said, "Andy, do you happen to still have those videos that we made of the lip syncing?" And he was like, "No, I don't know where they are." I was like, "Man, I will pay you money if you could track those down. Like, I would pay to have them restored. I would just get a kick out of seeing those videos." He's like, I don't have a clue where they would be." I'm like, man. But we did everything together. You know, we both got our first girlfriends and celebrated that together as friends. We even swapped girlfriends. You know, when he was tired of that one, I was tired of this one. We switched. I started going out with this former girlfriend. It was fun times, though. And it was all because Andy took the initiative and sat down and introduced himself. That's where it all started. Do you remember the feeling of when you walked into a new group of people that you've never been a part of before? Do you remember that feeling of being new? Do you remember that feeling of being overwhelmed? Like, oh my goodness, I don't know anybody. I'm walking into a strange place, especially if the group you were walking into had been friends or known each other for a long time and you're the outsider. Remember that feeling? Yeah. So as Christians, we should be really good at welcoming new people into the group like Jesus did. Unfortunately, we are humans, and we have our human nature tends to want to gravitate towards the comfortable, towards the familiar. And this morning, I want to encourage us to get outside of the comfortable and the familiar and be willing to take in new people into the group. As our church grows, we need to be good at loving others into the group. We're going to need to go beyond a handshake, a smile, and let new people into our circle of friends. So I was reading up on some material, and I found some really interesting statistics. There were a couple of studies done. Lifeway Research did a study on why people stopped attending church. So too busy was a reason at 19%. Burden of family and home responsibilities was 17%. But then the next most common category of reasons involves disenchantment with the church. 3 specific reasons were church members seemed to be hypocritical, 17%. Church members were judgmental of others, 17%. And then this one was really interesting to me. The church was run by a clique that discouraged involvement. Some of you are nodding your heads because you've already seen this. I have too. I've been a part of a church that was like this, and I was like, guys, we got to get out of this. We got to break this cycle. This is not good. So that was the first study. The second study was an article I read, 10 Reasons Small Churches Tend to Stay Small by Joe Mckeever. And reason number 8 was lousy fellowship, inwardly focused instead of outwardly focused. And then he wrote, this describes a church group that may be friendly to outsiders, but they aren't real friends to outsiders. Right. Do you know the difference? Right. Wow. Giving a handshake and a smile, that's being friendly. We need to go beyond just acting friendly and actually take them in as friends. He said, in other words, they may say hi, but they won't go out of their way to develop real relationships. It's nearly impossible for a guest to plug into the inner circle of a church where this type of fellowship exists, no matter how hard they try. So rather than sticking with it, they just leave. Interesting. 2 separate articles, 2 separate studies, both saying the same thing. If you become inwardly focused and you become a clique that it's hard for people to get into, people will leave. Amen. Which is not what we want. We want to be like Jesus, who was like, no, come on in. I got plenty of room for my circle of friends. All right, now this church, I'm not saying this church has this problem, but as a new church plant, I'm trying to prevent this from happening in the future. I'm trying to plant the seed to stop us from ever becoming that kind of church. Because it would be easy. for us to say, hey, you know, we've had this group of people that have been sticking together and getting this thing off the ground, and we've gotten close, and we can let human nature kick in and not be, and widen our circle and let others in. We got to let others in. This problem, by the way, is nothing new. This was going on during Jesus' time. So we had the Pharisees, who very much had a holier-than-thou attitude. They thought they were better than everybody else. Right. And they didn't think that sinners had a place in God's family. If you lived a sinful lifestyle, they would push you out and keep you out of the circle. Even the 12 disciples. There was a time where some little children were trying to come to Jesus, and they tried to put the brakes on and say, no, you can't go around Jesus. And he said, do not hinder the little kids. Let them come to me. Amen. He had room in his circle of friends. The letters that were written to the church, Paul had to get on to some people for excluding some people from participating in the Lord's Supper, and you're not waiting for people. We need to be, as we study the life of Jesus, the teachings of the Bible, all through and through, the message is the same. We need to love others and be willing to take others in to our circle of friends. I believe that Jesus, the reason Jesus had a lot of friends is because he was cool. And I'm saying that to be funny, but I'm saying that also because those are the 4 points of the message this morning. Jesus was cool. So the first one is C, be compassionate. Be compassionate. If you're taking notes, that's the first one. Be compassionate. Jesus was compassionate towards those who were on the outside of the circle. So just like we read the story of the Good Samaritan, and this Samaritan saw a guy who was hurt and bleeding on the side of the road, he had compassion on the man, and he stopped what he was doing, and he went and helped the man, and he bandaged up his wounds. Just the same way as that guy had compassion on the guy on the side of the road, we need to have compassion on those who are on the outside. Right. Those who are not part, those who are maybe the loners. Or just don't tend to be the most popular people. We need to have compassion. So think about a time when you were the new person, whether it was new to school, maybe you went into a new school, or a new church, a new workplace, and it seemed like everybody at work already knew each other, and you were the new person coming in. Do you remember that time? Can you think of that time? Do you remember how it felt? You remember how nervous you were? And you're like, man, I don't know. Am I going to fit in here? Am I going to belong? Are they going to like me? Am I going to be like them, or am I going to be different? And just that nervous feeling of walking in. Remember that time, and now put yourself in the person's shoes that's coming into our church service, and they're new. Have compassion on their situation. Know how they feel, and reach out and make them feel welcome. But not just at church, at Scouts. If you're in a Boy Scout troop, you know, have compassion on that new scout that's coming in. He's scared. He doesn't know if people are going to accept him or not. We never know what someone might be going through, right? At any given time, someone coming in might be going through a really tough time in their life. And you reaching out to them might mean the world to them, right? We want to be those people. We want to be that person that meets them where they are. They might just be looking for some acceptance. And so being cool means, first of all, being compassionate. Second, starts with an O, be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. We're going to be in Luke chapter 19, verse 1. Luke 19, go ahead and turn in your Bibles, which is page 852 in our church Bibles, or you can use your Bible app. But I want to give you a little background information to Zacchaeus. That's how you pronounce this guy's name, Zacchaeus, in Luke 19. Luke 19, Zacchaeus was a tax collector. The first thing you should know about tax collectors in the first century is everyone hated tax collectors. They were despised for many reasons, but one of the reasons was, the Jewish people had their territory, Israel, taken over by the Romans, and when it was taken over, they had to pay taxes to the Romans, right? They didn't like paying taxes to the Romans. They didn't like being taken over, first of all, but they certainly didn't like, now we got to pay money to these people. And if you were a Jewish person who went to work for the Roman government, you were a traitor. How dare you go to work for the people who took us over, right? And so they were hated for that reason, but also tax collectors were notorious for collecting more than they were supposed to. They were cheating people out of taking more than they were supposed to and then putting it in their own pockets. And so you're going to see this statement, Zacchaeus was very wealthy. Why? Because he was collecting extra and sticking it in his own pocket. That's why. So they were despised. Okay? That's what you need to know before Jesus encounters Zacchaeus. These were despised people on the outside of everybody's circles of friends. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. All right, so he's actually got 2 strikes against him now. He's a tax collector and he's short. And I can just tell you, as a short guy, growing up I was short, you're just never going to be the most popular person in the crowd if you're short. It just doesn't happen unless you're really good with basketball. That's about the only way that you're going to be really popular as a short guy. But I was not one of those guys. So he's on the outs already. Tax collector and short. Verse 4. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. Did you see that? This guy who's despised and people usually treat him like dirt, he's like, no, man, I'm going to your house today. I want to hang out with you. I want to spend some time. I want to get to know you. He showed him love. Verse 6, so he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this, so the other people saw this and began to mutter, he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. Look at him. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, okay, Zacchaeus, let's be real. If, you know you have. If I have cheated anyone out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what? The lost. The lost. Zacchaeus was lost, and now he is found. He was not saved, and now he is saved. What did he do? There's a Bible word that starts with the letter R, is what he did. It's called repented. He turned from his evil ways and said, if I cheated anybody out of anything, I'm going to pay them back. I'm sorry for the way I've treated people, and I'm going to make it up to them. It was a visible sign that he was repenting, that he was turning, that he was changing. Repentance is key, by the way. It's a key part of becoming a Christian. And so Jesus was on the lookout. Just imagine this guy, he's hated, he's a loner, but because Jesus was on the lookout and noticed him, he now is saved. He's now a part of the family of God. He says he is now a son of Abraham. He's part of God's family. How cool is that? How cool is that? Simply by noticing someone who everyone else overlooks. Everyone else overlooked this guy, but Jesus noticed him. He gets saved. Pretty awesome. I was reading a book called Vertical Church, and it made a really good point in it. It was talking about how sometimes, because we're so focused on family members becoming Christians or friends of ours becoming Christians, we can be blind to the people that God's putting right around us that are ripe and ready to turn to Jesus. And it's not that we shouldn't care. We should care about our family members and our friends. Absolutely. Pray for those people. Care about their salvation. But don't be so focused on those people that we miss the people God is putting right in our path. And so at Vertical Church, they said that they frequently have adults come to Christ and turn their lives around and become Christians. And he said the story is the same every single time. When they find out that person's story, what was going on in your life, why did you turn to Jesus? The story was the same. Everything was going fine until a huge boulder was dropped in their life. And all of a sudden things weren't fine. And they knew they had a need for something else to help them. Every single time. And so how he writes, the guy James McDonald writes, how sad is it that, here we are, we're doing a good job by taking our unbelieving friends out to lunch, but we're missing the person who's crying in the bathroom. How sad is it that we're praying for our son to turn to Christ and come back to Christ, but we can't go across the street to talk to our neighbor who's about to lose their house or lose their marriage, or the guy who's at your work that's about to lose his job because of an addiction. And so his point was, don't be so focused and don't get blinded because you're so focused that you miss the ripe apples right around you every day. And I thought that was a really good point. Be on the lookout. He said, work with the hurting. They know their thing isn't working. I love that quote. They know their thing isn't working. They know they need to do something different. So be on the lookout for ripe apples. And then the next O, be compassionate, be on the lookout, be out of our comfort zones. Be out of our comfort zones. Mark 1. So turn back. We're going back to Mark chapter 1. It's before Luke. Verse 40, which is page 813. Mark 1, verse 40. Be out of our comfort zones. Jesus did that. A man with leprosy came to him, to Jesus, and begged him on his knees, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Jesus was indignant. He reached out his hand and touched the man. I am willing, he said, be clean. Immediately, the leprosy left him and he was cleansed. Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. See that you don't tell this to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them. Instead, he did the opposite. He went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Yet the people still came to him from everywhere. I mean, can you blame the guy? He had leprosy. Jesus healed him and said, don't tell anybody. I would have wanted to tell people, like, guys, I'm not leprous anymore. I don't have leprosy anymore. I would want to tell people. What you need to know about people with leprosy in Jesus' time is, first of all, they were considered unclean, and everyone had to stay away from them. So they literally quarantined outside the city. They had to live outside on the outskirts, away from everybody else. They had to wear bells to warn people that you're coming near someone who's unclean. And if anyone came near, they had to yell out, unclean, unclean, warning them to stay away. You think those guys were lonely? I guarantee you they were lonely. I mean, nobody could go around them. They were extremely lonely and had to be depressed and everything else, right? And they didn't have human contact. What do you think it meant to that person with leprosy when they hadn't had human contact in years probably, and Jesus reaches out and gives him human touch? I guarantee you it meant the world to this guy. I mean, maybe as much as the healing did. Just the fact that Jesus cared and he touched. What did Jesus do? He went out of his comfort zone. I'm not going to lie. I've never been around a person with leprosy, but if I was, it would make me uncomfortable. I mean, their skin is literally rotting off of them. They have patches of their skin missing. I'm just being honest. It would be uncomfortable for me. But that's what God calls us to do, is go out of our comfort zones and be willing to reach out to those types of people as well. Be out of our comfort zones. It's much more comfortable for us to just stick with the circle of friends we already have, isn't it? It's just easier. We already know these people. I've already gotten to know them. I've already been through the awkward stage of getting to know phase. I've already gone through that. It's easier to just stay with the friends I already have. It takes effort. It takes effort to put ourselves out there, go outside of our comfort zone, meet somebody new, take somebody new into the circle of friends. But we've got to do it, guys. We've got to do it. So there's a really old but classic and still good statistic in the church growth and the church world, which is 6 friends in 6 months. Basically, if people don't have 6 friends in 6 months in the church, they will move on. They're looking for friendship. It matters to them. Yeah, the preaching matters, and yeah, the music matters, but they want friends. And ultimately, that's going to be the thing that gets them to stick. And so what does that mean for us? It means we have to be willing to take people into our circle of friends. So go beyond our circle of friends. Go out of our comfort zone. Be cool like Jesus. Be compassionate. Be on the lookout. for those who are on the outside. Be out of our comfort zones. And then the last one is L, be loving and accepting. Be loving and accepting. So there's a story where Jesus is at a Pharisee's house. And this woman with a not so good reputation because of what she did for a living, I'll phrase it like that, comes into this Pharisee's house and just invites herself in and starts washing Jesus' feet with her hair. And it says the Pharisee, when the Pharisee who had invited him in saw this, he said to himself, if this man, Jesus, were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she's a sinner. And he wouldn't let that sinner be touching him. According to the Pharisees, there's no room for sinners in God's circle of family. Which is ironic, because if that were the case, if sinners couldn't be in God's circle, nobody would be in it. Right? There would be nobody in the circle. So when I was a young adult, a lot of you already know this, that I got off track, like by a long shot. I got way off track in my life. I got into drugs. I was addicted. And occasionally my parents would invite me to church. They never let go of me, which I thank God for my parents who never let go, never stopped praying for me. But they would invite me to their church. And I would go basically out of obligation. I'm not going to lie. It was because my parents asked me to. All right, I'll go. Didn't really want to be there. So I was a druggie, and I had long hair, and I probably just didn't look very healthy, is my guess. And you could probably tell I was on drugs, right? And I really believe, and some people say that they feel like a church wasn't welcoming, and I wonder how much is really them. It's in their own heads, that they already had it worked up that nobody's going to accept me. I really consider myself to be a pretty unbiased person. I'm a fair judge of character. And I'm telling you, I felt like these people didn't really want me there. That was the vibe I was getting. Nobody was really coming up to me during the meet and greet time. Nobody was coming up to me, the dude with the long hair that looks like a drug addict, right? Nobody was being friendly to me. Nobody was inviting me to any of their functions, right? The only thing I did like was my dad would nudge me to go and as a young adult work with the youth group. And that actually felt real. I was hanging out with kids and it felt good. It was like, you know, these kids accept me, and that was the one place that it felt good. So that was a negative example of what not to do. We shouldn't be that way, the way my experience was. I'll give you a positive example now, which is my grandma Copeland, who has passed away. But when me and Andrea got married, I was new to the family. I had married into the family. And on top of that, I already had a son that was Andrea's stepson, Eric. And Grandma Copeland took us right into the family. No questions asked. It was, oh, you're my grandson. You're my great-grandson. I mean, it was just instant. Grandma Copeland. Love that lady. That's the way we need to be. Jesus loved people unconditionally. And it didn't matter if their skin was deformed because of a disease or if their life was deformed because of sin. Jesus met people where they were. And he took them and offered them a friendship, a relationship. Jesus loved us unconditionally and took us into the family, into his circle. And so we need to love others and be willing to take them into our circle. Even when this guy had a mullet. Jesus even loved that guy, even with a mullet. Jesus loved and took me in, even when I was messed up. I was trying to be cool by doing all the wrong things, right? Jesus loved and accepted me. By the way, I heard mullets are making a comeback. Please say it isn't so.
Brayden has one.
Let me talk to him then.
He loves it.
Oh, that's good for him. You know, if Jesus can love me with all my baggage, he can take anyone in. You know, now they do need to repent. Zacchaeus repented. You know, but we got to take people where they are. We got to meet people where they are, show them love first, and say there's a better way. And through that love and through that, you know, it used to be the order was we want people to believe first, and then they'll start behaving right, and then they can belong. I say we need to flip that upside down. We let people belong. We show that we care first. And then eventually they'll start behaving like we do, and eventually they'll become believers. Let's meet people where they are. So as we come to a close with the message here this morning, I want to paint a picture for you that I'll bet all of you have seen. And it's the picture of the person who's walking down the school bus, and they're a new person to town, and they're walking down that aisle, and they're looking for a seat to sit. And one by one, person says, "Seat saved. Seat saved." Right? Have you seen that? Like in a movie? I was trying to figure out what movie I've seen that. There you go. Seat saved. Thank you. I was racking my brain trying to figure out. Should have just called you all up. Forrest Gump. Seat saved. Right? Seat saved. Not cool. That's not how Jesus wants us to be. But I like a different picture better, which is this. It's the scene of the new person walking into the cafeteria to eat lunch at school. And the reason I like that better is because that's a circle of friends, right? I imagine a circular table that has 6 or 8 chairs around it, right? And this person is walking in, and they're really hoping, their hope is that they'll look someone in the eye, and that person will give them a look back that says, "Yeah, you can sit with me. Sure." Or maybe even say that, like, "Here, come sit with me." But one by one, that table turns them down. They turn their backs. They say, "Nope, not here." And then this table, "Nope, not here." It's Cobra Kai is what it is. If you're not in Cobra Kai, if you're not in the right clique, you can't sit at the table, right? That's human nature. Jesus is calling us to be the opposite of that. He's calling us to say, Christians ought to be the best people at befriending others. I mean, really, if we're following the teachings of our Master Jesus' circle of friends was always open for more people. He was always welcoming. There's always room for me more. We ought to be the kind of people that even if every chair is taken up, we say, "You know what? I can go get you another chair. Here, let me get you another chair, and we'll make room. We'll make room." Yeah. And so let's be that kind of church. Let's be that kind of followers of Jesus that is always willing. I'm realistic. I understand that everybody can't be friends with everybody. That's never going to happen. That's not realistic. But what I do want to happen is that each circle of friends always leaves a space open for more people to come into their circle of friends. That's all I'm asking. So Jesus had a lot of friends. Why? Because he had an abundant amount of love. And because he loved people, because he had compassion on people, he was on the lookout, and he was willing to go out of his comfort zone. That's how we need to be. And so when people come into our church, you don't have to take a guess. They're looking for friendship. We just already know that. The studies, the statistics are out there. People walk in, they're looking for friendships. I hope that as people come in and visit our church, we will reach out to them. We will have open arms. And that's the same whether someone walks into our worship service, into your Boy Scout troop, wherever, into your school, that we would be the type of people that would follow Jesus in his footsteps and say, "We have room for you. We have room for you." No matter what you look like, no matter what, and like I said, it's a powerful thing, especially when someone has been kind of picked on or kind of bullied, and you're the one who accepts them. Man, that can have a powerful effect on people, that love and acceptance. And so let's do that. Let's take that extra step. On your Connect cards, we have some next steps. So go ahead and turn to the back side of your Connect cards. We have some things that you can check if you want to do these things. Keep your eye out for those on the outside this week, at school, at work, and make it a point to speak to them. Keep your eye out for those on the outside, and make it a point to speak to them. The second one is befriend someone you might not normally hang out with. Go out of your comfort zone. If you're a preppy, you typically hang around preppy people. Hang out with a non-preppy person this week. Go outside of your comfort zone. If you're more of the rocker type, and hang out with someone who's more of the jock type. I don't know, but go outside of your comfort zone. Invite someone new to hang out with you and your friends. So this is about opening up your circle of friends to others. If you and Sally and Susie are going out to get your nails done, Don't forget, this new lady. Say, hey, would you like to come with us to get our nails done this week? A group of us is going. Do you want to go to the zoo? Some of us are going to the zoo. Would you like to go with us? And purposely get new people into your group. And then invite somebody to sit with you or by you during the church service. Maybe grab lunch with them afterwards.